everybody. Happy Saturday to you. Happy holiday weekend to you. And I hope you had a great, Good Friday as well. And like I said, my name is Don Terrell. I want to welcome you back to another great episode of The Color of Motion. I like to say, hey, that's where great stories are told. Well, trying to turn this off here. Well, I like to say stories come in all shades. Man, coming back from a hiatus, always a little rusty. Man, oh man. But I want to welcome you. You know the drill. Hop into the comments. Say, hey, where you tuning in from. Like I said, seems like it's been a long hiatus, but I am super excited to be back streaming the show now. I was just talking to the guest saying, man, this season is rolling by fast. This year is rolling by fast, and we are getting quarter 2 kicked off to a great start. So I'm super excited about today's show because it's all about comics, cartoons, and comic strips. So, that's my first love. Again, say hey where you're tuning in from while I make sure we're going on all the channels here. Uh, yep, it looks like we are. Looks like we are functioning as we should be. Connect. We're functioning on LinkedIn. Looks like we are functioning on Facebook. Looks like. I'm not sure we are functioning on YouTube, and we are. Facebook always gives me a little funkiness there. Yeah, looks like we're having issues on Facebook. I wanted to check that. But man, I am super excited about being back. Again, it's been a long hiatus, it seems like, but it's always good to be back. Let's get this housekeeping out the way for sure. First off, I want to say thank you to the sponsor for today's show. Always a big sponsor, DG Graphics. They do all our graphics, animations, overlays, and all that good stuff. Basically, make us look good. So if you're a brand or a business that's looking to level up their brand design, create some engaging content that really connects with the audience, then you really should look them up and reach out to them. Big shout out to DG Graphics for always sponsoring the show. Also, I said I wanted to make sure this year, to push really supporting the channel. I love a great cup of coffee, obviously. Buymeacoffee.com/Don Terrell will allow you to help me to continue to create great content and continue to put it up on the channel. So anything that you can give to support, it helps. So definitely helps me to continue to reach out to great guests, put this together, and continue to put great content up on the show or up on the channel for sure. So definitely, I'd appreciate any support. As always, you can check us out on some of the new audio platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, and some of those that you can now check out audio. So I'm really looking at that and grow that this year as well. So if you're an audio person and just want to listen, then hop on over to Spotify and some of the other common audio platforms to check us out. Again, like I said, we're here each and every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, live to the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, the website, and the Facebook group for the show. But I always encourage everybody to hop on over to the YouTube channel, get plugged in, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Where is my YouTube there? When I tell you, always something that just never works out. It's supposed to show my YouTube. Where is my YouTube here? Okay. It's okay. Social media bug. This is a bug me for sure. There we go. Yeah, Now that's right. I always encourage that would have bugged me for sure. I always encourage everybody to hop on over to again the YouTube channel, get plugged in, subscribe, definitely share it. We're a little short, still a little short. Hit our 1,000 subscribers. We're I think a little over 100 short, which I know that we could hit, but I can't do it without you. So please, again, hop on over to the YouTube channel and subscribe, share, pass it on to people that you know might find the channel and the content interesting for sure. I want to do this again. I'm looking forward to. Okay, there we go. Some reason it's acting weird on me. Okay. Uh, I do want to say one thing I am excited about is we will be, which I've been testing out kind of during hiatus. Looking forward to live streaming vertically to our Instagram channel. So that's the one reason I haven't kind of live stream or really put into the Instagram because I normally do horizontal. Now, the software I use allows me to simultaneously stream horizontally and vertically. So super excited about that. Been testing it out. It's kind of challenges. Some of the scenes have been a little hard to translate over vertically, so I'm trying to figure that out. But cannot wait to unveil that, and that should be coming up within the probably next month or so. All right. I think I got most of the housekeeping stuff out the way. And it should be good to go to start this off. Like I said, super excited about today's guest. Really looking forward to this conversation for sure. I love comics and cartoon talk. So without further ado, I think we can get this show kicked off. What do you say? Hey. All right, we are back and ready to get this show on the road. Hey, Maggie, appreciate you stopping by and kicking off this holiday weekend. For sure, I was hoping to get up there this weekend, but stuff kind of work kind of got busy. Tell Lewis I said hey, but I appreciate you as always supporting the show and tuning in. But man, like I said, I am super excited about today's guest and ready to sit down and have a deep conversation about just cartoons and comics in general. My next guest, he is a Chicago-based cartoonist and the creator of the newspaper comic strip Beware of Toddler. Oh, excuse me, as well as the artist for Beano comic strip Angel Face Investigates and the graphic novel Redman's Muddy Water 2. A lifelong artist, he was introduced to the newspaper comics world of Calvin and Hobbes, one of my favorites, and decided to pursue cartooning himself with the growth of webcomics industry. Before Toddler, he created the webcomics, the Reset Button, and On Grind. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Mr. George Gant. George. George. Man, I'm super
Hey,
excited to have you on. Thank you for coming to the studio and sitting down and having a great conversation with us.
man, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, I was telling you, and as I always tell everybody, comics and cartoons and just comic strips is my first love because that was what I initially wanted to be, was a comic strip artist. So to sit down and have a conversation with the comic strip artist that's syndicated, that was my thing. I think I must have had a room full of rejection letters with the comic strips that I sent in to all the syndicates. But just your little bio, talking about your bio, you kind of fell in love with it from Calvin and Hobbes. What was it about that kind of drew you to comics?
For me, it was. I mean, it was like a combination of a couple things. It wasn't just the comics. It was. I mean, it was the comics themselves. Like, it was funny. It was humorous. I was a boy at the time, so I could relate to Calvin. I had my own little stuffed animal. Mine was like the Odie doll from Garfield.
Oh yeah.
Um, so like I can relate there. But at the same time, I also was a homebody. I stayed in the house, and I just had all these books in general. So it was there. It was
Yeah.
available. It was hilarious. It's still hilarious, and I just kind of like that. Just drew to it was just drawn to me. At the time, like when I was reading them, I didn't know I could draw. I didn't believe I could draw. I wasn't really trying. I tried like a little bit, um but I was still like fascinated with like
Well,
cartoons and
around
things
what
like
age
that.
was that? Around what age were you kind of introduced, or did you kind of start, Garfield, or not Garfield, but Calvin and Hobbes, and you started, like you said, you weren't necessarily into it, but you kind of started getting into it. Around what age was that?
Around I would have been about like I want to say like 8 or 9, like somewhere around that. So what happened was around that time my family and I we moved to a house where my cousin lived, and she had just mounds of comic strip collections. Um, Anything you could think of. There was Calvin and Hobbes, there was Garfield, there was Peanuts, there was Bloom County. That was
Mm.
another one that I really liked, but I didn't really understand at the time. Um,
Yeah, Bloom
I
County
didn't
is
really.
one, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I get it now. I didn't really get it then, but
yeah,
I like the art and I like the characters. So all of those like I just stayed. Didn't really like to go out. I wasn't one of those kids, so I just stayed in the house and I just read those books, like
yeah,
front to back. Um, and between that and I was also a big fan of like the Ninja Turtles, like the TV show at the time.
yeah.
'Cause I'm an '80s baby, so that's all we had was like Ninja Turtles and Saturday morning cartoons, comic strips, and Nintendo. But
Yeah. I missed those times.
yeah, that's all we needed. Man, kids today are missing out. Um, but um, but I would just read those books and like Ninja Turtles was like the greatest thing in the world to me. And that was really the thing that made me want to draw. Like I just draw Ninja Turtles
Yeah,
in the house, in school,
yeah.
all day long. I You don't want to see my grades, but
No,
yeah.
I'm right there with you. I think I'm from a slightly older, a little older kind of generation there, but I kind of grew up on, like I said, I love Bloom County. Now I often say there are really only three comic strips that made me laugh out loud, that were just like hysterical, that made me laugh out loud. Although Peanuts was like my ultimate, it wasn't like one that just hysterically made me laugh out loud. I just love Peanuts, and I was a Peanuts fan, and that. But like Calvin and Hobbes was one that just physically made me laugh out loud. Was most of the panels. Uh, uh, Bloom County was another one that was one of those ones that just kind of made me laugh when I read it. And then The Far Side. I don't know if you remember The Far Side. that was one of those ones that just was hysterical. I mean, like, even though it wasn't like one of those strip, Sunday strips, it was just a single panel. He made it funny. He got his point across in a single panel. That's what made it so hilarious. The Far Side. So I don't know about any people that remember Gary Larson in the Far Side. That was one of the better ones for sure.
Yeah,
Mister
yeah.
Happy Saturday, Mr. Dewan, Don, and George. And Dewan's another comic strip cartoon person there. He's a aficionado. It's exciting to see a fellow cartoonist, fellow cartoonist on the show this week. I love when I saw of your art, George. And yeah, we're going to take a look at more of George's art for sure. Mr. Robert, man, what's going on? Love this. Hey, Don. Definitely got to have you back, brother. It's been a minute. Appreciate you stopping by. He's another great illustrator, children's book artist for sure. What were some of the other ones that inspired you to really kind of move into art? And did you find it hard to kind of find like kindred spirits in others that were like into comics and into the things that you kind of like?
Back then, yeah, like no one really talked about comics and cartoons and things like that. Back during those times, it was about Nintendo and all of that, and I was very much into all of that. Don't get me wrong. Um, but like as far as the comics thing and like cartoons, it was less about that. Like back then, I didn't really know more, about the community until I became a bit older. So, sadly, I couldn't really talk about comic strips with any of my classmates. They weren't really doing it like that.
Yeah. Uh, well, I mean, so did you take any type of formal training or formal art classes in art, art, go to art school as far as just, that um, growing up? Because I know, just, as a kid, there was, while not a huge group community, there was this small group of students that were in art classes that I took that were just into art and cartoons and comics and other kind of art things. So being in that creative space, while maybe not specifically cartoons and comic strips, um, being in that creative space of being around other, I guess, illustrators and people that were kind of understanding of what you wanted to do. Like as far as your parents, did you get any type of, as far as them, I guess, encouraging your passion for this? Was there a thing about them not getting it, feeling like, well, this is something that while we're encouraging you, you might want to find something else to kind of maybe fall back. They didn't think that this was a viable kind of route. I know my mom, while she, encouraged my skills and my passion, didn't quite get how it might translate into a living type of thing.
For me, it was well, for me, I didn't really. It took a while before I just did it for as a hobby. I just did it for fun. So it took a while before I even thought, hey, maybe I could make a thing of this. But, like, growing up, I've taken, like, classes here and there. Like, one summer, I took classes it was just, like, a general, like, art thing at the, School of the Art Institute, and so we did illustrations and things like that. We actually ended up doing the sculpture, and it was, like, a little summer program, and it was me, nine-year-old me, and a bunch of teenagers. So I was like the only like child in the group, so I couldn't really relate to everyone else. And that was also like 30 something years ago at this point, so I can't remember them, but I just remember they were older and but it was still like a very good experience. It was still a very fun experience. And even then I just drew because I liked doing so. Um it was fun. I thought I was good at it. This is back
So
in the era when like if you draw and everyone that sees you draw is either astounded or they will say, "Oh, I can do that. I draw too." And
Yeah,
whether
it's
they
always like
could,
that.
yeah, see, like,
Yeah,
and
I
whether they
know.
could and they couldn't, that's a whole other story. But that's
Oh
pretty much
man.
like that's
So at what point did you decide that make that decision that okay, this is I want to pursue this as far as being a cartoonist and comic strip artist? What was that point when you said, okay, this is something I want to pursue?
well, there were two different moments. One was in high school. It was this was more still like me on the hobby side. I made an attempt to draw. I wanted to be a part of something. So I went to like the school newspaper and I asked if I could draw some cartoons. Um, and that's actually where I discovered editorial cartooning. Um, and so that's pretty much what I did. I did editorial cartooning for that school newspaper. What I wasn't expecting was to win 4 awards from it, like, citywide. Um, so that was pretty neat, like, for,
Awesome.
like, citywide, in Chicago, in the city of
Yeah.
Chicago, citywide awards for, like, my editorial cartooning, and, from there, like, a little bit of a spark there. Maybe this is something I can look into, but also, I'm a teenager, I want to do teenager things. Uh
Yeah.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I am a nerdy teenager, so I want to watch wrestling and play video games.
Yeah. No, I get it. You gotta if
So,
you're gonna do that, you're gonna have to commit to the this is what I want to do as a profession type of thing. And that's not always, a thing a teenager or, is gonna commit to doing. So I
exactly.
get it.
And so, yeah, like, that was like the first spark. The second spark happened in college. All this is school related, but not directly school related. It's funny. The second was in college. I had gone to school for a bit for graphic design.
Where at? The
Um, oh no, I
Art
went to the
Institute of Chicago?
international. Oh no, I
Oh,
went to the International Academy of Design and Technology.
okay.
They aren't around anymore, but like this was early 2000s. But I went there for graphic design. I figure I was kind of getting out of the whole cartoon thing, early 20s, like 18 and all. But I wanted to do something creative, and everyone is basically saying, "You got to graphic design. Graphic design is the future."
Yeah.
Slightly before that, I actually like skipped an entire step. I just skipped an entire part, but like before that, I did this program called Gallery 37. Um, and basically they paid you to draw to create. Um, I was part of like a program like we painted like some cows during downtown Chicago,
Mm,
and we did like screen printing and one year I did Photoshop, like graphic design. We did like graphics for our trains for like train signage. So, I guess there are 3 sparks. That was the second spark. And, each program was like 2 months long, so it wasn't like terribly long or anything like that. But from there, I started thinking graphic design might be the way to go, you know? I can be a graphic designer. So when college started, I said, "Hey, I wanna go for graphic design." And so I started doing that. I learned the basics. All the things I don't do in my comics now, I learned back then because I just forgot all of it. Uh, but I learned the basics, and I did that for a few semesters. Um, Funny enough, when I at that school, I was registering for classes during when 9/11 happened. So, like,
no.
to put a timeline on things, like, the day that happened, I was 18 and registered. I was downtown doing classes. But, after a while, doing graphic design, I switched majors and I went over to, IT. Um, because my second passion is electronics, computers, technology.
Yeah.
I'm a big computer guy. I built the computer I'm using right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm one of those. I know.
Hey,
But
nothing wrong with that. I'm not quite as much as you, but I am kind of a techie, dirty. I did build me one PC, which bad.
it's fun to
So
tinker.
yeah, it is. It
But
is. Yeah.
um, but I did that for a bit. And then I realized I don't know what happened, but I realized I wanted to go back to art, and so I changed majors again. And actually changed schools. I actually went to I went to a different school at the time. Um, and I was also working, so I was trying to do like the work and things. I was working at Starbucks, and so I went to switch schools. I went to East West University. I went once again computer graphics, but I tried to get like knock out all of my gen ed classes. So I know this is like a long-winded story, but I promise it's going somewhere. So I'm in like a math class, and my math teacher, to say there was a language barrier is the understatement of the century. I just did not understand. I could not understand a word he was saying. Which is crazy because we're dealing with numbers. And so I'm zoning out. I'm not paying attention to class because I can't really understand what's going on. And I start sketching. I haven't really done it in a while. I start sketching. You know what? That spark came back. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Of course, I went to school for computer graphics. I'm like researching stand-up comedy for some reason. I don't know why. I think this is like around the time I started getting into stand-up, like watching it and like, hey, maybe I can do that. No, I can't do that. I, I'm funny on paper. And
Oh man. But they do say improv classes are really great. I would love to take some improv classes if you're kind of a, writer. I guess it would help you with your writing and just improving situations, that type of thing. So in the
yeah, I
future.
mean, like now I would love to do that. If time, I'd do it just to do it. But back then I just didn't know what to do. So but I was in class and I was sketching, and somewhere in this little window, like the Boondocks TV show came around,
Mhm.
and Penny Arcade was hot, and all these gaming web comics just like started popping up, and it was kind of like one of those things where like, look, all these people are doing it. Why can't I do that? I have tech know-how. I can program a website. Um, I really just need to get back into drawing and making comics. So I tried my hand at that, and it was not great.
How
So
so?
well, I was starting to make comics for the first time in years, and this time I was trying to do strips, not editorials. I was trying to somewhat do it digitally, but I didn't have the equipment. I didn't have the money,
Yeah.
and I was like pretty much at the whims of my Starbucks paycheck.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Um, and I, you know, I was in my early 20s. I still wanted to live life, so I wasn't really like committed to it. So the work I put out wasn't great. Um, but I created like some of my most iconic characters around that time, like the characters from the Reset Button. So it wasn't like a total loss. That experience got me, learning about webcomics and kind of that you can do this yourself. Like I was aware of the syndicates.
Yeah.
I knew I just knew I would never be syndicated at the time. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm 22, 23. I I'm just doing this for fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if something happens, that would be great. Maybe I can like do a website and get like ad revenue or whatnot. Um,
So you weren't
and
doing
this,
it like the way, like I guess the I guess the traditional route or the way that I did it was I was just sending out when I was young and came up with my comic strip. I was just sending them out to King. I found King Features. I found all the syndicates addresses and just, would send it to them. Of course, you get a nice rejection letter back. But, at that time, there was no internet or you weren't thinking about web series or anything like that. So were you mailing out your comic strips, or were you just initially, like you said, just thinking, just do my own web, digital web series and put my comic strips on the webs myself?
Yeah, I just thought do the digital web series. I had to the programming know how to build a website, so I figured, well, I know HTML, so let me see what I can do. I didn't think about the syndicates at the time. Like, I didn't think that I could do it, so I didn't try.
Mm.
And like, there was like Penny Arcade, there was VG Cats, there were all these webcomics, and these are all specifically about gaming. And I'm a gamer, so I just felt like I could just slot myself in there and just do something no one else is doing, and I'd be good. Well, no, 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 but I
Didn't
did
quite,
learn the
they say,
basics.
didn't quite work out that way, huh?
Exactly, like, but I did learn the basics, and eventually, after doing that for a couple of years, and like I'm like bouncing back from like coffee shop to coffee shop. That's been like my main thing in my early 20s, like as far as work.
Mm.
So at some point, like a light bulb went on my head. Why don't I just draw? Why don't I try to do a comic strip about the coffee industry, about food service, about my experiences here? And that's actually how On the Grind got started. Um, and that's when it hit me. I'm a little bit better at this than I was with the reset button. Let me try to get this syndicated. And I'm in my 20s. So it wasn't let me see if I can get syndicated. It was I'm in my 20s and I got this comic strip. I'm going to get syndicated. Right? I went from not thinking I'm good that I can do it to I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Like I'm like this is I got this in the bag, early 20s confidence and all. Yeah, that didn't happen. Um I got like one or two rejection letters. I can't remember from who, but I sent it to King, I sent it to United, I sent it to everyone. I
Uh-huh.
got a one I got like two rejection letters and other people just did not bother to reply. Um and that's okay because I was still doing it as a webcomic and I was still like trying to figure out the craft. So I kept on the grind going, and that one actually, even as a webcomic, landed the attention of a small press publisher. Um, and they were like, you know what? Hey, look, I want to put some webcomics up. Let me put your on the grind up on our website, and we'll like try to do a book. We can do books and things like that. And me being me and not really having this opportunity before, was like, okay, I'll do it. Um, yeah, don't do that. But,
Hey, you live and learn. It's all a learning process. It's all a learning
yeah,
process.
yeah, my story is just a series of just like learning lessons, like lesson lesson learned left and right. But but I got two books out of it. I got two book collections. Um, on the grind. One's called The Worst Day Ever. The other one's called On the Grind, Volume Two, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Brugal.
I to this day it's the
Oh
best they've
man.
ever named.
Oh man. I should like to read that one because, like I said, as a former barista myself, I can relate to the
So,
Starbucks grind type of thing.
so some
Uh,
so,
before we
so one
move
thing with
on, let's
that,
throw some people in here. Mr. Joseph, appreciate you tuning in, Mr. Joseph Illich. Man, oh
oh man,
man, it's been a
I feel
minute.
special now.
Oh man, I feel honored as well. Mr. Joseph shows up. Appreciate you showing up, Joseph, for sure. Dwayne, I'm aware of the
Yeah.
Far Side, including the infamous Cow Tool cartoon that sparked so many confused reactions. Like I said, the Far Side was the best. It had to be the best because that was just the most hysterical cartoon that I ever read. As far as just, I laughed. Now there were a lot of great cartoons, but that one was the only one that just was one of the few that made me laugh out loud whenever I read it. And all of them pretty much did that. Uh, Super D2. Woo, let's go, Gant. So proud of you. Appreciate you tuning in, Super D2, for sure.
So I
Mr.
just want to
DeMille.
point out D. D is like my King Features little brother.
Awesome. Oh, okay.
He's a,
King
he's a,
Feature.
he's another syndicated cartoonist, and
Okay.
he is incredible, and he's doing some really good things. Just want to point that
Okay.
out. Read
Super
Rosebuds.
D. We need to talk and connect for sure. So definitely afterwards, Mr. George will connect us there and I definitely would love to talk about getting you on the show. Downtown, Mr. DeMille. Mr. DeMille, happy Saturday to you there, brother. I always appreciate you tuning in for sure. Super D, Mr. Dewan, I'm sure he seems to be wherever. Great to have you here for sure. Happy to be here and love supporting again. I appreciate you supporting your brother, your comic strip brother in arms, and I appreciate you, supporting the show by stopping by. So thank you, and I hope this isn't the last time that we'll see you there. So, what was like how many? Because I know a lot of cartoonists go through several, I guess, types of strips or iterations of strips and things like that. How many like strips did you come up with before you kind of fell into that kind of groove of on the grind, and then you kind of found your voice, so to speak?
Um, it it took quite a bit. So on the grind, and I'd say there's about 400 something strips going on right now, like as of today. Um, I would say it took about 200 strips to really get in the groove with on the grind. Somewhere around around the second book. Um, Actually, that might be less than 200, like 150 or so. Um, but that comic strip is like really special. That was a lot of fun, and I don't consider it over. And I'll explain why in a bit when we talk about Beware of Toddler. But that's really the strip that I used to kind of hone my skills, so to speak. It was the first one that I thought I can get syndicated, and it was the first one that I tried doing, like, that's kind of autobiographical because it was based on my experiences working in retail and working in food service. Um, dealing with crazy customers, but I wasn't afraid to get fantastical with it. Um, like fruit flies and tip jars that can talk and things like that. Um, and that one was a lot of fun, but that one I started to get bored with it because I kind of felt like people weren't reading it. Um, that's the thing about like webcomics and comic strips is that people like we love them, right?
Yeah,
We love comic strip, we love newspaper comics. A lot of people today don't even know they're still around. They don't know newspaper strips are still going on.
yeah,
They'd be like, "I used to read this and this and this and this." I'm like, "Those are still running.
yeah, yeah. Well, I
Today's Garfield
mean,
is brand new."
yeah. Well, I mean, and I think that's because obviously now, the demographics of newspapers has drastically gone down as far as just
Yeah.
people reading newspapers. It's not like I used to be, and which is another kind of, I guess, topic I do want to touch on, talking about just the whole business of comics and IP, because you were talking, obviously, Calvin and Hobbes is a thing for you and a big thing. And that was always something that struck me interesting about Sam Waterston than more of the other. And I know it was kind of a touching point in the cartooning community with just his stance on merchandising and just kind of growing outside of the medium of the actual comic strip. I want to kind of get your take on that because obviously in today's society, you're maximizing all the IP, especially whether it's with a syndicate or whether it's your own web series. You're trying to maximize just the IP itself and where you could take it. I want to kind of get your thought on that because that was, I did kind of really respect him on that in the sense that, he stayed true to his medium. It was enough for him, you know.
Okay, so my here's my thoughts. Yeah, I respect what he did, like his thoughts towards it. I'm gonna put out the books, and that's it. No merchandising, no nothing. I am not that person.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I I'm not gonna say, oh, I need to do this, this, and this. But one, I grew up broke. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm
No,
gonna keep it honest.
and that's a valid point. Really, that's a valid point.
I grew up broke. I do not have the luxury of that. But I also understand that if, say, there's a Beware of Toddler doll out there and some kid wants it, but they may not be able to afford it, I still recognize that. No, DCs don't exist, but I'd want to do something about that, you know?
Yeah.
But as far as like other mediums and things like that, I also, again, if someone, okay, I can't say a lot because I'd be spoiling something that
Now,
I'd
let
like
me
to
ask you:
do.
is there a limit? Because let me ask you: is there, I guess, a limit or a line, I guess, for you? Because I felt like again, while Peanuts is my all time favorite. I felt like towards the end it was really getting watered down by all the sponsorships that it was doing and the commercials and insurance and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of helped me kind of took me away from just the true love of the strip and the nature of it. So that's what I mean as far as I appreciated early on the Dolly Madison. They were their early sponsor, Dolly Madison, and that was a thing. It just kind of played well, but I guess as it became this machine and kind of just revenue machine, it just kind of took the experience away. I mean, like you just said, you grew up poor. You're thinking dollars, but do you think when you're thinking about the comic strip itself and being true to kind of the comic strip, is there kind of a line or just a point where that's just too much, or that's put it's just more than what I anticipated or wanted to do for this strip?
So for me, like with anything like that, like with like merchandising and deals and sponsorships, for me, I think there is a limit, and I think the limit would be, does, say, the company that's sponsoring your strip, like, are they related? Does it make sense to do so? Like, um, my comic is about a 2-year-old. I wouldn't do like a sponsorship for Depends, you know? It's gotta make sense. It's gotta make sense. Like, and like, like with my comic strip, I have like dream companies that I would love to do like a brand thing with. Like, if I can, once again, if I can keep it a buck, if I can keep it honest, if like Smuckers came and said, "Hey, we want to put Beware of Toddler on the box of Uncrustables," I would not hesitate because
Yeah,
canonically that's her favorite food.
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah.
it has
Well,
to
I
make
mean, and
sense.
I guess
That's
that's where it was kind of starting to become a disconnect as far as Peanuts. Like I said, Dolly Madison, it was just a natural thing with Dolly Madison treats when they were initially on TV and being sponsored by them. But I guess as it started getting into, what was it? Is it State Farm Insurance? Not. What's the
Is it?
insurance?
It's
That's State
a
Farm.
MetLife.
MetLife.
It's a Met.
Like I
Yeah.
said, they so many different things that they started getting off into sponsoring, and just again, and I think that was, I don't know, you could almost say that might have been the case with Garfield. There was just so much oversaturation with Garfield. It to me, it just didn't played out. It played it out. It burned it out really quick to me because it was just the syndicate was just putting out so much Garfield stuff. Whether it was merchandise, whether it was TV shows, Saturday morning cartoons, that type of thing. So, I mean, I know it's a hard thing to kind of, and I guess that might have been what Sam was afraid of, just being able to control this monster that it could, kind of spawn into that you can so easily not get in control of because they're generating money, just generating dollars type of thing. So that's what I mean.
Right.
It could easily take you out of the love of doing just the cartoons and the art of it, and it becomes a job or just this thing that you have to do to generate money. That's why I could kind of appreciate. I mean, I appreciate Sam Stans, and that was the books were enough for him. The books provided enough value and fulfillment in his life. He wasn't trying to seek anymore. I guess if he wanted to, he could have very well done that. And there's a great documentary on Tubi about him. You should check out. Finding Where Are You, Sam Waterston, a guy who was searching, went back to his hometown and was searching, just going back through his history. And you can see, like I said, just the connection of his artwork with where he grew up. And like I said, he does beautiful illustrations. So I can appreciate the fact that, he kept it at the medium that really lent to, his illustrated work. Although it would have been cool to see a animated feature, but it would have had to been done right. Just like when I saw there was a Bloom County one that was on, it was a Christmas Bloom County special. It just totally threw off because it just didn't seem right. The characters were voiced weird, and it was just, it just didn't seem right. So some things just are hard to translate, and if they're not translated over right, just kind of throws the whole thing off, type of thing. I'm wondering, do you kind of keep that all in mind? Like I said, as you're building out these characters, these different worlds that you're doing, and these different IPs.
Yeah. I think about it a lot actually. Yeah, for me, like it has to be right. It has to make sense. Everything has to make sense. Um, like for example, I uh a couple weeks ago I came across a fan made animated video. It was like a meme video,
Mm,
and it was of Beware Toddler characters. And the work behind it was I think I've only told one person this, and the work behind it was decent, but what happens in the video is so not like the characters
mm,
that it made me actually upset. Um, like genuinely upset
yeah,
because you know these characters would not do what they did. Um, so like for me to do anything with Pure Toddler, it's got to make sense. It's got to be there's got to be quality there.
yeah,
Um, I've thought about like what if Beware Toddler was an animated series. I thought about who I'd want to play the roles.
yeah.
I've thought about what if Beware Toddler was a video game. Would it make sense? The answer is yes. By the way, in my head, but if
Oh
it
man.
makes sense and the quality is there and people
Yeah.
want it, yeah,
And
I'll
that's the
listen.
fear. You're gonna get that bootleg stuff because obviously, you see, I've seen a lot of Calvin and Hobbes bootleg stuff, stickers, on cars and stuff. They're not approved.
Man,
Him peeing on a Ford logo or something like that. Calvin and Hobbes, obviously, like I said, they know they're going to be people that knock off that kind of stuff to make their own money, and I guess
mhm,
depending on how big the brand is, how and how much you want to go after them. As far as pretty sure somebody like Disney is going to go after and really protect their you know characters and IP. I want to make sure that because we got some Fast and Furious comments, so I want to make sure that I get these comments on and all of that kind of stuff. Let me go back up here to kind of where I started off, or kind of left off. Uh, right here, Mr. Spurdy. I'll be here for you both. Appreciate that, Spurdy. Like I said, hope to see you in further episodes for sure.
Yeah, I want to connect you
This
too. So
Mr. Alcabulan, yes, this is live. This is live. So, what I like to say, what happens live. What's your guys' thoughts on the recently announced $50 billion Black Creatives Initiative? I got to throw this back up. Black Creators Initiative. This was announced at the end of last month. What's your takes on who initiated? I hadn't heard about it. Who initiated the initiative? If you can kind of
yeah,
clarify that, Mr. Alcabulan. I'm not. I hadn't heard about it. So who initiated it? And if so, 50 billion is towards Black Creative Initiative. That's good. That's awesome. More money
yeah.
for us to fund some great creatives out there. I could use a little bit of that. So just found this. Yeah, so shoot it over to me. I had to check it out, and maybe it's a link I can share there. Uh, Hold on. Mr. Dwan, it does make you want to appreciate Calvin and Hobbes even more. How Bill Watterson kept its spirit through the comic strip alone. Though I still wish uh, we got an animated special sport. Yeah, so like I said, I'm kind of glad we didn't, because if it was done wrong, yeah, that definitely would have killed it even more. Because like I said, Bloom County, while I love the strip, and I think that first one kind of had Berkeley breath. It was he wasn't like all in on it, if I'm not mistaken, and hopefully not, because it was really bad. I thought per se, I thought it could have been better for a Bloom
Right.
County strip. That's what I thought. But hopefully he's supposed to be working on another one type of thing. But I know him and like I said, you should watch the Tubi special on Sam Watterson and Calvin and Hobbes. It really is insightful, and I know that was because Berkeley is in there, and he was talking about the back and forth that him and Sam would have, you know, because Berkeley was he was into making money off of merchandising, so they had a back and forth for sure. Um, for you, what's your process when you sit down? Because I know how it was when I was just sitting down, and I've seen, you sit down to a blank piece of paper and, is it, I mean, are you doing this all digitally or are you doing it manually?
Oh no, I am 100% digital.
Okay. Okay.
I I work like solely from. I have two tablets. My main tablet, is an XP pen. It's like it covers up pretty much this entire like space.
Yeah.
I do like 90% of my comics there. Uh, I have a backup tablet. It's a Surface Pro that I mainly use for like sketching, things like that. If I'm like out of the house or if I want to like go to the library and I need inspiration. But as far as my process, it pretty much just starts there. I'll say this. Like lately, I've been actually making a habit of, taking a notepad and actually like writing down ideas because I did not do that for the first 16, 17 years of doing this.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not organized. It's all chaos over here. But when I get to the my desk, I try to have ideas in mind. I've been trying to just like come up with like blanket ideas of like as half the year or like as if you think it's an hour. have the Year Tyler comics, and then I'll just draw them out just based off the idea. I'll come up with the scripts right then and there, unless I just think of something that's really funny, and then I'll just like put that to the side and just draw whatever funny things just like right on the spot, almost
Yeah,
like an improv thing. But lately I've been trying to become more organized, plan out things more. I want to do more storyline related things with Tyler, but that's difficult because the comic only runs on Sundays. But because I want to do that, I've been trying to like really just write everything out, sit at my desk, and just you know sketching, pencils, line work, colors,
yeah,
letters,
yeah.
and just do it all. And I try to do everything in just like one fell swoop, start to finish.
We're going to take a look at while we're talking about his process and just the whole deal of creating a comic strip. Definitely is changed since I've come up doing it. I guess I'm used to kind of the old school way. Although, like I said, I do draw digitally, but something about
I mean, I
just
will
sitting
say that one
down
thing.
to a Bristol board and measuring out your panel and all that kind of stuff.
Now, one thing I do try to do, even though I do work digitally, I try to treat it as if it is Bristol, as if it is traditional. Um, I like to have a texture on my tablet so that it feels as close to paper as possible. My nibs are felt. I try to avoid like rulers and like digital rulers and shortcuts wherever I can, because I want to create that feeling of of it being like it's being on paper, but it's not being on paper.
Yeah,
Um,
like I said, we're going to talk through a lot of this stuff because your style, I'm sure your style has evolved over the years. I do love the vibrancy and just the line work of it is catchy for me. That's what got my attention, and is the kind of cartoons that I really kind of gravitate to as well. But I do want to talk about just kind of the evolution of your process, your style, um, and just some of the different stories that you do. But this Beware of Toddler is just one of the things that you're doing.
mhm. Yeah, this that one was fun. That's actually the it's the drop panel. So like if you open up a newspaper, you see Beware Toddler, that's the title you see before you see every single strip. And it's like one of the most recent things I've done. It's probably my favorite one of all of the ones I've ever made because it's just I thrive off chaos. This comic was created chaotically. So
I see.
to be able to showcase the chaos is like it's my thing. I don't know what to say.
Now, would you say, like, obviously, again, like just mentioned, you have several different comic strips, and this is just Beware of Tyler is kind of one of. Would you say this is probably your more popular one you're doing, and kind of give a little back history of this comic strip and kind of the genesis of why you did it, why you started it.
Okay, yeah, so it kind of came out of nowhere, honestly. Um, I was working on, I brought back the reset button. I did it like a kid's version of it, and I was getting kind of bored of it, but I came up with a really good idea in regards to the reset button, and I started planning that out. I'd figure instead of doing, web comics like I've been doing all this time, let's do a full on comic book. So I wrote and I drew this comic book, and I was getting ready to like, clean it up and really like try to make it look better when I was at home with my daughter. Um, since my son was born, I've pretty much been a stay at home parent. Uh, because being a stay at home parent is more cost effective than working in food service and daycare. I wish that was a joke. It's true though. It's just true. Like I I would have spent more money. It would have cost more money to do daycare while working,
well,
you
yeah,
know,
well,
in a restaurant
to pay
than
for
just
daycare.
being at home with. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
But I was at home with my daughter. Um, Sometimes I'll do this thing, and it's just a funny thing I do where I'll just like find a place to hide, no warning, no nothing, and I'll see like how the kids react. This time I did it. I like hid in a closet that I've never hidden in before. My daughter was like a week away from turning 2. I was quiet, like pure full on Metal Gear stealth, and she somehow made a beeline to me, like she knew where I was right away. And I thought it was funny, and like blew my mind. Like, how did she find me? Like, what weird superpower did this toddler have that she could find me like that? And that's where that comic came from. I drew the comic as a response to what she did, and I just drew it on Facebook. Um, because I drew something, I'll just put it up on Facebook. Maybe somebody will like it.
Yeah.
A lot of people liked it. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people told me that I might be onto something with this thing. I named it Beware of Toddler just out of the blue, completely on the spot. A couple days later, I drew another one just to see, hey, maybe I could do another one of these, and it's just one-on-one recreation of something that toddlers do. The toddler ate a crayon and was running from the dad. I put it up there. That was the first comic that I've drawn in like my entire webcomics history to gain any real audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hundreds of people were like enjoying these comics.
Yeah.
Hundreds turned to thousands, and I just kept going, and I just kept making the comics. Um, Too many people were telling me, "Hey, I can see this being the next big thing. I can see this being an animated series because everything has to be an animated series. Apparently, I can see that."
Not
I'm fine
everything.
with that.
I would say
I'm
not
cool with
everything.
that. Not every well, not the Bloom County Special, according to you, but
Only if it's done right. Like I said,
only if it's done.
it's gotta you gotta see whether it's done right. If it's not done right, then no, it doesn't need to be made into
Only if it's
animated
done right. Um, but this thing became really popular, so I thought, I like put my reset book on hold like completely. I haven't. It's been 6.5 years. I haven't gone back to it yet. But I started putting these comics on Webtoon. Now, Webtoon, they are more towards like cut up versions of like comic books and manga. Newspaper, comic strip, family things aren't really a thing on there.
mm-hmm.
Um, my comic ended up with like 13,000 subscribers. It ended up with like right now sitting at like 1.9 million views, and I haven't used it in 4 years. Um, it got nominated for an award with Webtoon, so that kind of told me, okay, this is the Beware Toddler show now. That's what I'm working on, and so I kept cranking out comics. I did it once a week.
Okay, so you were
Beware
drawing it once a
Toddler,
week, and you were
yeah.
releasing it when?
Oh, on Wednesdays. It's like
Okay.
every Wednesday, I'll just like put up a new comic. That's actually what led to probably like every other thing I've done since then. Like I got Beano because of the Beware Toddler comics. I got like um Muddy Waters, the Redman book because of that.
The Beano
And this thing
beer.
just it became popular. I can't explain it. But
Well, I mean, so at what point did King Features come into the picture and say, "Oh, okay, hey, we like this what you're doing. We want to offer you some kind of syndication."
all right, so About 3 years after that first comic, roughly, I put out a book. I put out the first and today only Beware Toddler collection called Toddlerhood. It was my first and only Kickstarter, um, and I think the Kickstarter also kind of helped promote the book really well. The comic raised like 11 grand. I've never done a Kickstarter before, and I was able to like raise that to put the book together. So I put the book together, and at the exact same time, I was contacted by King. They said, "Hey, we love Beware Tyler. We'd like to talk to you about bringing you into King for our Comics Kingdom website." Um, I I was like, "Yeah, I'm." It's just funny. It's funny. Like I spent all the time trying to get syndicated. I got like ghosted, and I got rejection letters from everybody. And then the one time I don't try, like the second time I don't try, it happens. Um, so they signed me on the Comics Kingdom. We moved my comic from Wednesdays to Sundays, so that it's a Sunday thing. And then the newspapers was next, and yeah, I got lucky.
There's always a little bit of that you'll take. There's always a little bit of luck involved for sure. Was there? I mean, for you, what was the most surprising thing when that you learned just about the whole, okay, this is my job, comic strip, producing a comic strip type of thing. What was the most surprising thing that you just didn't think about when you were kind of younger, or didn't think that that was even a part of cartooning or comic strip? Was there something that was a big revelation to you? It's like, oh wow, okay, I didn't expect this, or this type of thing.
Well, one, I didn't expect like I didn't know that syndicates actually reached out to creators they want to sign. I just thought everybody had to to apply. It
Oh,
was this
apply,
long,
yeah,
drawn out
no.
process. But when I got in there, I did not expect the that cartoonists work as far ahead as they do, as we do. I'm one of them now. What am I saying? They, we.
Yes, you are one of them now. How far ahead,
It's
do you have to kind of keep yourself?
um. So I believe it's like 8 weeks. Like it's
Eight
like
weeks.
couple months.
Yeah.
I was before that. I was drawing comics like up until like the minute I posted. Like it was chaos. I'm at home drawing, and I got like the the children around me while I'm drawing this comic about the children around me, and so like I wasn't organized. I wasn't working on any kind of buffer. Yeah, now I'm like I was 9 weeks ahead. And I fell back a bit because I had some deadlines I had to deal with, but I'll be back to 9 weeks ahead next week. But
Okay.
that really surprised me. On a personal level, just being me, you know, being someone who's tried to do comics and has tried to do web comics, failed but kept trying, and tried to do this and that, failed and kept trying. After what would have been, what's this? This is year 20, or after 16 years of trying to do this, actually doing it, and knowing the odds, and actually doing it, and being able to do this, that still surprises me. Like, am I supposed to be here? And it's the internet. I've had people on the internet tell me I'm not supposed to be here, but
Well, you always
like,
have
just
people. There'll
like
always be
it's
haters. There'll
there's
always be haters.
always,
Right.
always,
Well, would you
but
say now
yeah.
though? Would you tell younger artists now or younger creators now? Because I do want to talk a little bit about this time that we're in of self publishing, Kickstarter, getting your own thing, as opposed to you know thinking that you have to send your work to studios or have to apply to studios. And I often tell creators, studios are doing the same thing everybody else is. They're looking for creative content, so they're on the internet surfing for creators just like everybody else. So do you feel like there should be this rush now, or you have to make this rush to get syndicated or this and that when you can publish your own comic strip, publish your own graphic novel, your own book? It's a lot of work. I mean, it's work on,
Yeah.
obviously your part of doing it, but in this age of IP and really maximizing your IP in different areas, now having to feel like you got to go through the gatekeepers to get yourself out there now. What are your thoughts on this creative time that we live in?
Okay, so for me, well, here's how I view it. If your goal was to get syndicated, say, we'll use that as the example. If your goal was to try to get syndicated, still try to get syndicated just because it's a nice thing to have, but it isn't a requirement to be successful these days. Um, and it's pretty much like any creative endeavor. Like, you don't have to go to Disney or Marvel or DC or any of these in order to be successful, but it's still a nice feather in the cap if you do. Um, I For me, going about it, the webcomic route and the way I did it was more about me honing my skills. Like, I wouldn't draw Tyler the way I'm drawing it now if it wasn't for that. Um, so it, like go the indie route, go the self-published route, because you never know. Like, realistically, you should try out every avenue that you possibly can and understand that a this is a grind, you know, people, because there are a lot of younger creators that think, oh, because I drew this one picture of this character doing this, I should do this as a career. You have to understand that, it's a process. Like, do the work, like really hone your skills, take the time, understand that these things take time, because people, I was one of them. It's very easy to get frustrated
Mm,
when
yeah,
you put something out there and it's not popping, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And you have to view it as, it's not that your work isn't popping, it's that your work isn't popping yet.
yeah. Yeah.
These things take time. So, but
Or you're trying to
um
compare it against somebody else's. I think that's another thing that hurts. You're trying to compare your work against somebody else's as opposed to just focusing on your style and your work and letting it grow from that. Yeah. Hmm.
that too, and that's a difficult one, because even today, like, sometimes I'll do that and I know I shouldn't, but that's just like, it's human nature, and that's something that you have to, like, really push past. Um, you gotta block out the noise, and you gotta really want this. You gotta be dedicated. You gotta put in the work. Like,
Yeah.
there are no shortcuts, and people aren't going to want in today's society. People aren't going to want to hear that, because people are impatient. And you probably know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just know those two words ain't it.
Yeah, it's a
um,
lot, and I think, and that's why, like I said, I try to do obviously shows like this, and that's why I encourage people to always watch like the behind the scenes making of, because you get a better appreciation of the work involved because most people don't see the work that's involved in making something, whether it's a comic. They just think it's easy, or they think, I can
yeah,
push a button, or you can sit down and whip out a comic strip just like that, and it's doesn't always work like that. It really doesn't, for
yeah.
sure.
Especially now when people do think you can push a button and make a cartoon. And yeah,
Miss
yeah,
Maggie loves them. These are great, for sure. Like I said, you have this, you got a unique style, and that's always I guess, always the tricky part going in is finding your kind of style. Obviously, like you said, you look at other people's work. I was a Peanuts fan, so obviously I was drawing around Peanuts, Beetle Bailey, that Blondie kind of. You were always looking at that kind of style, but you hope within that, as you're doing your comic strip and fleshing out your characters, you come across your style that's uniquely yours, and that people recognize as you. But again,
Right.
that's a grind thing that only comes with you doing it, putting in the work. Super D, it's a super grind, and it's not for the faint of heart. Trust, yeah, especially when there's a deadline, you know, or you got a deadline, which is why they want you ahead for sure. Um, I hold on. Okay, as someone who's doing it daily and Gant is doing it Sundays, please know that this is not a joke. Bit now, comic strips, cartoons is big business. People I mean, they see the end thing and it's funny and it's, may look good and this and that, but it is a business and it is work, and everything that goes into it, whether a book, a graphic novel, animated short, it's work involved, for sure. And it's a lot of work when it's a brand that you have to translate across all of that. Is this something you could show at a daycare because to show people that look like them? I mean, that might be a good brand deal, or they maybe make a good sponsor. That type of thing. It fits well within. That's the thing. You try and find, just like me. I try and find sponsors that fit along with the theme of the show. So you find sponsors that fit along the theme of Beware of Toddler, type of thing. Are there obviously your comics and cartoons kind of cater to the kids and things. Are there other styles of comics that you like? I mean, do you love, like you said, when you came out, like Boondocks came out, and that's kind of a more edgier style cartoon comic. Are there comics that you would love, styles that you would love to explore, or stories that you would love to kind of dive into that aren't necessarily kid related?
Well, for me, I wouldn't say I'm really kid related as more like a general audience type thing. So for me, it's like toddlers. It's a family friendly comic, but
Yeah.
it's not like Bluey. It's like it's PG. It's PG. I'm not afraid to go say Tyler's gonna hurt the dad this time. Like I'm totally okay with the dad getting hurt in the comics. But as far as like me and my style, I kind of for me like my favorite things are like yeah I like things like the Boondocks, but I'm like a big Simpsons guy. Like I that's where my heart lies in like those kind of like animated sitcoms.
So more
Um,
edgier sitcoms. Because I mean, Simpsons, while it's popular, I don't know if that would necessarily be considered like a really kid friendly. I don't know. I wouldn't think so.
no,
Kid
no, it was edgy
friendly.
back then. It's tame now compared to what it was,
Yeah.
but it's not so much about edginess, but it's more about wittiness. Like I like smart, snappy humor and things like that. Um, I just happen to keep my comic PG. That's all.
No.
Like for
Well, I mean,
example, like I did. Mhm.
well, I only ask because obviously some people love to stay in that kind of lane of kid related, young kids or a certain age group of kids. That's your kind of lane of where they like to stay, and then there are others that they may work in that lane, but they may enjoy a more adult style or more cerebral, like anime, getting into a deeper anime style type of story or cartoon or comic or graphic novel, or I mean, say like a
Yeah.
Batman, more darker, or darker tone type of thing, or just being able to jump to different genres is, I guess, my question. As far as like some artists, just they don't want to be stuck in one thing, or don't they like kind of playing around in different spaces. I guess is my thing. I was kind of alluding to.
Well, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think I would enjoy that better as a consumer than I would as a creator.
Mm,
Because even as a creator, even with everything I've done, I kind of know my limits.
yeah.
I know what I would be good at, and I know what I wouldn't be good at. I don't think I'd be good at that. That said, I did do the Redman book, and I think that turned out okay, and I had a lot of fun doing it. Even though the art style is still very much cartoony, that is not a family friendly book at all.
So, what did you
So,
learn? Was there anything that you pulled about yourself doing that project, coming out of that project?
oh well, with that, it was really just about the art. Like as far as like my output, it was more of what I normally do. It's just that I can do more things. Like I could actually draw a fight. And I realized that drawing fights are fun. They're a lot of fun. But um
And
now
before
whether
that,
I'm
that
like
was something that you hadn't attempted to do or didn't think that you could pull off before you
it's something
actually
I
tried
haven't
it.
it's something I haven't done in a while. Like even like with Beware of Toddler, like the last thing I think I did was um it was like mimicking sword fighting, but it was like trying to get a kid to eat. But here with this book, I got to draw like, and I've drawn explosions in Tower, things like that with like imaginations, but I got to draw like full on explosions and still cartoony, but
Yeah.
I got to do violence. I got to draw violence pretty much, and so it wasn't. See, then it was good. It was fun. It was a fun experience. It was more than what I can normally do with Tyler and my other comics. Um, but I mean, I dug it. I got a kick out of it. If those publishers reach out to me and said, "Hey, you want to do another Muddy Waters book?" I'm going to say yes. I would like to see where like how to improve. I'm one of those people that I'll draw something and then I'll look at it. I'm like, this is trash. I need to do better. I'm
Yeah.
like one of those people. So,
Yeah. No, I agree. Uh, Mr. Alacron, I was expecting him to say Static Shock, surprisingly.
so
Uh,
hmm,
so,
let's see. When that show was hot, what was I watching? I can't even remember. That was like right
I
after
love,
high school. So
yeah, I love Static Shock. That was, yeah, I think that was a really good one. Yeah, it's supposed to be bringing or doing some kind of uh, animated film or along him or trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. That's a character they should be doing something with for sure.
hmm.
Uh, all right, man. Again, I'm trying. We've had a lot of engagements in this episode. I told you this was going to be a good episode. Love talking comics, cartoons, and all things comic strip. Um, for you, you did that, and I guess I'd like to know because I thought about doing one, but you wonder how it goes. What was the biggest thing that you kind of learned doing the Kickstarter, your Kickstarter campaign? Because that's always kind of a thing for some, because isn't it you have to reach a certain point, otherwise you give the money back if you don't reach your goal, type of thing. I think that's
um,
Kickstarter.
that is a thing. But for me with Kickstarter, I learned two things. One, that I am a terrible businessman, and two, um, two, that is a completely separate grind than the comics. Like one thing I learned is that when you're promoting, and I'm the kind of person I don't like to ask for things. Just
Mm,
like full stop. Like every single thing that I've accomplished, I did not ask for. I mean, like I want it, but I
yeah,
didn't reach out. But with the Kickstarter, like I every single day you have to talk about this thing and you have to just keep promoting and promoting and promoting. And I'm self-conscious in a way that I feel like if I keep talking about the same things over and over again, people will be upset with me. Like people will be put off.
yeah,
And that's even when I posted my comics. I don't like doing it all the time, but I learned that you kind of have to.
you have to. Yeah,
Um, because like algorithms are not great and people
Yeah.
have short attention spans, and you're competing with all of this other stuff. One thing that we don't talk about when it comes to like comics and cartoons and everything and IP in general is there is too much of it, to be honest. There's a lot of it. And so you have to really grind, you really have to push through um in order to,
Yeah.
ask for someone to pledge your Kickstarter or get someone to read your
Yeah.
comic. It's you know what it is? It's like I'm gonna put this in football terms. Your comic is the football, right? You are the running back. No, no, no. The comic is the football. You're the quarterback, and the readership and everything, the algorithm and everything blocking you is running a blitz play. You got to try to figure out a way to get through that. And posting a Kickstarter every single day is basically doing that.
Yeah.
You're basically like basically you're trying to do a run play to get through that noise so people can see what you do. And I didn't realize how involved you would be. Like, and sometimes you felt like you were, talking about the Kickstarter, you were promoting the Kickstarter more than you were doing
You're
the
actually
actual
doing the
work.
work. Yeah, that's a
Um,
lot of work. Yeah, it is. It's a lot. It's a job in and of itself, really. You know.
it is, and that's and if you take that and you add that with, actually trying to put out your actual comic, and it can be a lot, and it can be stressful, and it can be demoralizing. And if you're like me, you worry that you're annoying people with what you got to say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you got to push through it, and it worked. And I got it done, and I will not do another one anytime soon.
Or if you do, hire a Kickstarter like manager or somebody that can manage the Kickstarter kind of campaign, because
Exactly.
it's a campaign, so you have to constantly,
Yeah.
get on there to obviously inspire people to get behind the campaign and donate. So you obviously have
Yeah.
to be active on it, and a lot of people, I think that's something people take for granted when they do start a Kickstarter. They just think, I just put up a Kickstarter page and people will come and donate. It's like, no, you have to put some work in to
Mhm.
get it to kind of benefit for you. Uh, so, what is it that inspires? What's inspiring you looking into the future of comics, cartoons? Because again, you are seeing newspapers, go down. I'm pretty sure they'll be the next thing that comes along. What inspires you looking forward in this industry?
So with me, because there really is a lot we're dealing with right now. Newspapers, AI,
Yeah,
all of that. It's an issue for me. My biggest motivator is, I mean, besides the fact that it's my job, I have to do it now. Um, is I like to, I would say self improvement. Even if I could just do this, so I can say, hey, I'm better at this now than I was then. That kind of keeps me going. I'm very much a I'll draw something and then I'll immediately try to figure out how to do it better next time. Um, so self-improvement, knowing that I'm doing a good job, like I'm not saying that I'm going out there seeking validation, but like for me, I it's a goal that if I can put something out there and my comic can be seen on a similar level to like some not even some of the greats, but just some of like the not to say contemporary artists today aren't greats, but some of those people, that's motivating. Um, it just depends on, and then I hate to say this, it depends on the mood. Sometimes I'll put something out there and this is a dud, and or somebody will say something crazy, and I'll get mad and I'll use the anger as a motivation. Um, sometimes this happens a lot. Sometimes people will go off on all their favorite cartoonists and creators, and not that I'm like the hottest thing in the world, but I like to be mentioned sometimes. And if we should all want that. We should all want
Yeah,
that for
we all want
ourselves.
that. We all want to hear our
Uh,
name. Everybody
but
loves to
like,
hear their name.
you ever like feel like omitted from something that you think you should be a part of? That's a good motivator. It's not healthy, but it works. Just
Yeah.
saying. um,
No, I get it.
I'm keeping it
Everybody,
real.
like I said, everybody loves recognition. Everybody loves to be recognized and be heard for sure. I guess drop bombs for sure on the stuff that they drop. Uh, for that, and like I said, make sure I throw some of the stuff in here. We've been getting some good engagement. Can you guys? Can you guys do this on the show? I want to have his opinion. I would love to have him on the show. I'm sure he hasn't heard of it. In my knowledge, in my knowledge, love to get him on. Definitely. Which brings me to kind of my next thing, because this was something that kind of Ray and I kind of lightly touched on, as far as when I was telling him about just maybe getting back into sending in comics and stuff like that, just the need for more comics creators of color and diverse stories being told. How are you seeing more diverse, and are you seeing more diverse kind of character stories being told now? Because obviously, and as I say on here, this is a big driving force of why I started this show. Because when I grew up, even though there were creators and comic strip artists of color, I didn't see them in the newspaper. I didn't see them on TV or anything like that. Heck, Peanuts only had Franklin, and that was basically Charlie Brown dipped in chocolate for the most part. So I mean, as far as just true character representation, are you starting to see more younger, you know, creators coming up telling just stories that you hadn't seen before?
I have. I have not so much in the comic strip space. Like there are a few. There's some really good ones out there. But and I'm going to do another. This might be a hot take. I've seen a lot of stories in the comic book space, and a lot of them I cannot tell apart from each other. We need to um we need to do a little bit more to differentiate ourselves. I'm just saying. But
Well,
no,
you're
no,
talking about when it comes to characters of color and different backgrounds than what the normal characters. You're saying that's what you're talking about, as far as you're saying you're wanting to see more, I guess, diverse kind of characters of color.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
more even within that. And I think that there's a greater conversation. And once again, this comes back to my earlier point about how people look at like newspaper comic strips and things like that today. Um, but like a lot of the characters that I come across, superheroes, there's nothing wrong with that. But as someone who doesn't really read superhero comics that much,
Yeah.
it doesn't really do a lot for me. I like to see like even more stuff like than what we see. Like, for example, my comic, I'd never say it, but the heart of my comic is this is about Black Parenthood. Though I don't say it in the comic strip because I want to show it. I want it to be
Yeah.
seen. Show don't tell. That's kind of my thought process. Um, I think that when it comes to like diverse characters, we try to follow like very familiar templates, and outside of a few, like younger creators don't like to go outside of that zone, or like to put it plainly, like they don't want to get weird with it. You know, like I don't want, like, superheroes are fine, but you can do something outside of that. You can do, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but there's, you know, you get what I'm saying. Like
No, no, I
there
get what you're
there's
saying.
there's a way to be more diverse within being diverse.
Yeah, because just like in film, and just like in anything, blacks aren't. We're a big diaspora. There's a lot of different things and genres within, the black and just people of color, even any race of color, ethnic race. It's not just one diaspora thing. It's a vast diaspora of different, styles and just different ways they are. So, again, we saw that, I guess, when the Huxtables came on. They never thought about just the everyday life of a black doctor, black, medical and family. So seeing that, I get it when you're talking about just the various different types of diaspora. And I'm hoping to see more of that type of thing, not only in film, but nation um, coming up. And that's why this time excites me because I feel like now there's more tools for indie creators to experiment with their ideas and just put them out there. There's more channels to just put them out there. Um, and more ways to connect with other creatives. We have all these, we're doing a live, we have all these ways to create and connect with creatives all over the world now. So I like to say an exciting time for creative while still very, obviously turbulent with jobs and it just work. But again, I think the potential, you know, of what you could get on the upside, albeit it's a lot of work involved. Kickstarter, raising funds, getting people on board. I just had recently Andre Rodriguez. He's working on his animated short film. So just getting people inspired to work on your project, getting a Kickstarter. He's running his Kickstarter now. It's a lot of work, for just for just a small thing. It's a lot of work, but it's a fulfilling thing, for him because it's his story. He's working with creatives he loves to work with and want to work with him to get his vision out. So I'm pretty sure it outweighs the trudgery of the day to day things that you have to do to get it out there. So that's what I mean. You're going to have to be committed to what it is that your idea that you want to get out there. Not everybody can do that and put the energy behind that, is what I'm saying. But the
Right.
reward is worth it if you can do it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. The reward is worth it. So, man, we've been having an amazing conversation. We're rolling into an hour and 45 minutes. I told
That's
George
it.
this goes by quick. I told George this goes by very quick. Very, very quick. I want to throw a few more comments on here as we kind of, bring the station into the tracks here. Let me see. That was a great bomb drop. I always like to drop bombs at the right moment there, Dwan. You know that. On those good nuggets. I understand the feeling of drawing something once and then wondering how I can make it better. I think that's the nature of any artist. You always feel that even when you say it's done and move on, you always look back and say, man, I could have done something different. I could have tweaked it, pushed it just a little bit on here. It's really hard, especially in today's climate, to be recognized as a newspaper comic. I really admire Gant's work ethic to do such amazing stuff. I admire all comic strip artists. Like I said, that's my first love, and I know the work involved in sitting down and putting together a comic strip, whether it's traditional or whether it's digitally. Sitting down and doing that is a lot of work. So definitely have a love for comic strip artists for sure. I was gonna go, like I said, I initially was gonna go to do like comic book art. I was gonna go to Joe Kubert School of Illustration. I went and toured the school and initially was gonna go, but then hindsight's always 2020. So but man, oh man, oh man, just love. I'm gonna put all this stuff as we close out and kind of close up the track here, I'm going to make sure that I put all of George's contact information will be in the show notes. Definitely connect with him on Instagram. Check out his YouTube channel. You can find him on TikTok. He did say also Comics Kingdom, King Features website where you can find it. Beware of Toddler. Check out his book collection and Muddy Waters too. All his great stuff and future stuff for sure. So you definitely want to connect with him and see more of his great work. I just a little tad bit of it. Parting out, what I mean, your nugget advice that you would give somebody that says somebody like me, that young guy like me, man, I want to be a comic strip artist. I want to be a cartoonist. What what advice? What's that one thing that you would tell me that you would have told my 5, 6 year old excited self? This is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. This is the direction I want to go. What do you tell me?
Okay, so I got a couple things. One, there is no better way to start this journey than to simply start. It doesn't matter how bad the work looks, doesn't matter if what you do, as long as you begin. Like, the journey doesn't begin until you put pen to paper. I know a lot of creators that say that's like, man, when I make my comic book, and then it'd be like 10 years later, and when I make my comic book, and I'd be like, it's been 10 years. Like, just start. Draw like a stick figure and give them a speech bubble. That's a beginning, and it's perfectly cool. You know, um, that's piece number one. Piece number two, and this one's kind of like an important one, and it's not directly art related, but one thing about this journey is that you tend to be sedentary a lot. Um, and it'll take up a lot of time. So knowing that, take care of yourself because like there are too many creators with health problems. I know I got my own. Um, so like make sure that you got to have balance. It's one thing to sit at your desk for 12 hours a day. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, whether that's physically or mentally, um, because you cannot draw comics 6 feet under.
that's that's a simple note. That's a simple note
Um,
that you can't deny.
like I mean, you got that. That one's like pretty important to me.
Yeah.
Um, Number three is kind of a joke one, but I'm not really joking. Stay away from them prompts. If you're gonna do it right.
I got on that one. And before I let before I let him go, we didn't really dive too deep into that, but just the notion, I always ask every artist now because that's the big thing, AI and what's going on. What are your, thoughts about, AI and how it may or may not impact, comic strips and what, you do as a cartoonist and comic strip artist?
Well, I mean, it's already impacting everything. Not like directly, like I'm not worried that I'm going to lose my spot in the newspaper for an AI cartoon or anything like that. But um I do think well, there not so much anymore, but there's been pushback. But there's been like a little period where you see like these brands using AI for their ads.
Yeah.
So for freelancers, and I freelance from time to time, like that's something to be cognizant of. Um, as far as like me, and I'm a tech savvy person. I'm very computer literate. Um, that's my absolute line. I think it's weird that you have so many creators like resorting to AI to do the actual fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like this is the most enjoyable part of the process. Why take shortcuts on that? I don't understand it.
It's just the
Um
thing. Yeah. And obviously,
But
there are people
mhm.
on both sides, that love it or hate it, that type of thing.
I know they do. But also, and one other thing like about AI, and this is one thing that people are starting to notice. If you are trying to put out a product and you have something to say, you have a message, and you use AI to deliver that message, the message will change from whatever you were going to say until the message will be about AI. It happens 100% of the time. But I will go off on a tangent, and I don't want to do that.
That's what he said. That's another whole nother episode. I think I'm gonna have like an AI panel talk about bring on some artists and just talk AI talk.
Because like there's probably like some like people like prompted right now listening to this and being mad at me. Oh, I'm never gonna read this comic now.
Like I said, you always have. You can't please everybody. There's always going to be somebody that hates you, or is going to find a reason to dislike you or not like your work. You
But
just move on. You just move on. Oh
but I
man,
don't want to vilify. I don't want to vilify because everybody, we've all got goals. I'm not trying to vilify people, but
yeah.
there's a line. If anyone feels the need to, do some prompts and make a cartoon, talk to a cartoonist first. That's like
Talk to a
get
cartoonist
some
first.
advice.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like, regardless of whether you use it or not, you still should have to understand the principles behind uh, drawing an actual and making an actual comic strip. If you're going to use AI, have the principles behind making a comic strip, then it'll be better. It'll work out better for you, for sure. Man, oh man, on that note, we're going to bring this train into the station because, like I said, we can talk all day about AI and our feelings one way or another about that. But that is another episode. I definitely will plan on doing, maybe having a panel, just having an AI discussion, because there are some strong feelings one way or the other about it. This has been a fun conversation. Like I said, I love talking comics and cartoons and comic strips. Man, oh man, like I said, all this stuff, all his information will be in the show notes. Make sure that you hop on over to the YouTube channel, check out the show notes. If you're catching this on replay, make sure you drop a like, a thumbs up, share it, and all that kind of good stuff. That definitely helps the algorithm because, like George was saying, it's hard to keep up with the algorithm. And it's always changing. So definitely need your help. Man, oh man, oh man, this has been a great episode. George, I can't thank you enough for coming on, sharing your insight, sharing your journey, your story, and really just having a fun conversation about cartoons, comics, and all things cartoons. I can't thank you enough. And looking forward to having you back on for sure.
Oh, for sure, man. This was awesome. Yo, thank you. I really appreciate this.
If you could hang out in the green room while I close this out, I'd appreciate it. So then I can hop on and talk to you for a second after I close this out. But everybody, please, please, please help me thank our very special guest and friend and now family member, Mr. George Gant, for coming on and really making this an awesome show. Thanks, George. Hang out in the green room for a second while I close this puppy out. I'd appreciate it. Man, oh man, this has been a great kickoff to quarter 2 of season 6. This has been a great episode. So thank you for tuning in. I wasn't really expecting the turnout that I got because of it being a holiday weekend, but because you are the great viewers that you are, it just made it such a great kickoff to quarter 2, and definitely sets the tone for continuing on season 6. So thanks. I appreciate that. Alicia Nash, I appreciate that as well. Hopefully, we'll continue to see you in the audience. Please make sure you come back next week because next week is going to be an even better show for sure. So, we're looking forward to my next guest, Mr. Monday. Atu Go New. game developer and technical project manager in the game industry. So I'm looking forward to sitting down and having a fun conversation about his journey into the gaming industry, and the future of games and where it's going. So make sure that you join us next week again for Mr. Monday. It's going to be a great one for sure. So definitely don't want to miss that as well. Well, I appreciate you joining me on this kickoff. It's going to be fun moving forward. Super looking forward to all the great things gotten planned for the show, like Instagram Live. We'll be launching that pretty soon. So definitely appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in every week. And thank you for being the viewers that you are. I can't do this without you. Please make sure you share this, pass this on to other viewers that you feel might benefit from these great interviews that we do. I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers, everybody.